Hello, this is Christopher Tarantola, and we are going to do some Kerbal Space Program today. All right, so before we actually open Kerbal Space Program, I just wanted to show you CCon. CCon, you download it from the internet. I can include a link in the description. And it's a really nice application that just manages all your mods. There are a lot of mods out there, and a lot that don't even come on CCon naturally. But that's just what I use. It's nice and simple. I don't have to go into the back end and worry about it. You're welcome to, but it's really nice in the sense that it will give you a nice description, assuming the person who set up the mod gives it to you. Gives you what the latest version is, the max KSP version that you should play it on. So 1.1.99 is very different than 1.1.3, and so those are different things to take into account. Um, uh-oh, something happened. Something went wrong. So let's reopen it. So every time you open CCon, you'll get to see now. It's going to update its repositories, which just basically means it's reaching out to the internet and updating all of the content. Now I just updated. If you have an update on an existing installed mod, you can sort by that, and you'll have a little checkbox here, just like this, and you can click the mods, and then you go apply changes, and then you update it. If you want to install mod, you just click a checkbox and do the same thing. So I wanted to show you the mods that I have installed here, so that you could just see what I got. I'm not saying that you need to put these mods on there. Some of them are better than others, but these are the mods that I have. So I'm not going to go through each one of them, but just to give you a little bit of an overview, you can look at them and see what they are. This is not going to be mostly about mods today, so I just wanted to show you so that you could see what I got there. Okay, so we're going to start Kerbal Space Program and go from there. Okay, so we are back. My program is loaded. We're playing 1.1.3.1289, as you can see here. The squad has made a wonderful game here in Kerbal Space Program, and we are just going to play through it. So we're going to start a new game and start new. And let's first of all change the flag here. I think I'm going to use that one. I like that one. Ooh, supposed to hit OK or accept, not cancel. That's better. Okay. Now, I'm going to change some of these things just for the sake of my own sanity. Have a little bit more starting funds. I'll bump that up to 100,000. And I'm going to bump the science rewards to 150%. Nothing too crazy, but just something to get me there a little bit quicker. There can be a bit of a grind there, so it's a custom game now. Nothing too crazy. Career mode. And we're going to call this Go for the Stars. Okay. So the Go for the Stars, Kerbal Space Program career mode. Here we go. Anybody see the giant rocket re-entry last night over the western United States? That was pretty cool, huh? Thought that was neat. All right, so we have Kerbal Space Program. We got $100,000. No science, no reputation, and a very weak-looking space center. That's okay. So the first things first, we have all these different buildings. We can go through them. So this is the administration building. This is where you can do different strategies. So if you're getting a lot more money than you need, but not enough science. You can do a strategy that will convert money to science, or vice versa, or reputation. And so you can do different strategies. It's not free, and we can get into that later, but that's one of the things. Now, here's also the astronaut complex. This is where your astronauts hang out, train. This is where you recruit new astronauts, really. You get the flag pole there. Oh, you can choose a different flag. That's a new feature. I didn't even know about that. That's interesting. Okay. And then you get the launch pad here. This is obviously where you launch your rockets vertically. Mission control. This is where you accept and manage your contracts. Research and development. This is where you spend your science for your tech tree and unlock new and exciting technologies. You have your runway, where you can take off and land horizontally, rather. You got your spaceplane hangar, which launches to the runway, and the VAB, which launches to the thing. This is where you assemble your space and aircraft, or rovers, or whatever it is you're building. If you launch from here, it'll go to the launch pad. If you launch from here, it'll go to the runway. Okay, and then you have your tracking station. And so if you want to jump to an existing ship or an asteroid, or just check out the solar system, this is where you can do that. In fact, we'll go ahead and actually start there, just so you can get an idea of what's going on. I know a lot of you guys, y'all have a good idea of what's going on with Kerbal Space Program already. Y'all may have played it already. So this video might not be for you. You might want to check out some of my the next videos where I'm actually going through the career. But this is just so we can get a quick overview. In the center here is Kerbal. That is the sun. Then you have, actually, it's not even showing it close in. You got Moho and Eve. That's where we are on Kerbin. Then you got Duna, Drez, JOOL, and Elu. Elu is kind of like an ice ball. You zoom in on it. It's what people might have thought Pluto would be like, or something that was supposed to be like a Pluto-type object. Pluto became way more interesting than anybody thought it would be when New Horizons went by, though, and that was really exciting, at least for me. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was some really cool stuff. I don't know if you actually noticed, my my desktop background is Pluto and Charon. Okay, so this is JOOL. It's a gas giant. It's got a green atmosphere. We'll have to figure that out, maybe. You have several different moons: Lathe, Val, Tylo, Bop, and Pole. Some of these moons are easier to get to than others. Obviously, you cannot land on JOOL itself, being a gas giant. But we'll have fun getting there, and that is always a good science mission when you go to JOOL, because you got a lot of different places where you can get new science. Okay, and then, oh, I've already shown you Elu. I apologize about that. Going in the wrong direction. Let's go to Drez. Drez is a little bit less interesting, in my opinion, but for all you Drez lovers out there, I'm not trying to bring it down or anything. It's just a dirty snowball. It's kind of like Saturn's moon. I forget the name of the moon. Oh man, that's like I know the name. I just forgot it. So forgive me, guys. Maybe y'all can remind me in the comments there. Okay, this is Drez, supposed to be kind of like Mars, but the ice caps are quite a bit more pronounced on Drez than on Mars, and it has a moon Ike, which is fundamentally much more like the moon Luna around Earth than any of the moons around Mars. So this might have been Earth at one point, or at least it's a very similar type system. I would imagine that this one moon was created in a similar fashion than that we think our moon, where a big planet came in, smashed into the planet, a large series of chunks came off and coalesced into one giant moon, which is why an interesting fact about Ike is this face always faces Duna, just like our moon does. And so one day on Ike is the same as one orbit around Duna. Interesting factor. Okay, and it's not exactly a perfectly circular orbit too, so you can do some interesting things if you land in the right spot. And we'll probably try and do that. Okay, I'm not going to go to Kerbin because that's where we are right now. We go to Eve. So here we are at Eve. And Eve is a nice purple world. It's very interesting. I kind of liken it to Venus in a lot of ways, except that there's actually liquid. Liquid what? I don't really know, but it is liquid. Your ships do float in it, so it's not overly dense. Or it's not too, it is rather dense, I should say, denser than air at least. Then you have Gilly, which is a really small, tiny little speck of a rock. You can actually, I think, get asteroids bigger than this, even though this has gravity and those don't, just because of the way the game code works. But man, Gilly is actually one of the tougher places to reach, just because you need a lot of delta V and a lot of orbital mechanics to get there. Okay, and then finally you have Moho. And Moho, I like to think this is just like Mercury, or at least, you know, as much like Mercury as Duna is like Mars, right? So in that sense, this is kind of like Mercury. It's not nearly as pockmarked. It's got a different color. It's got a really nice big crater there. So kind of interesting, right? Okay, and then of course you have the sun Kerbal, which seems to be a lot like our sun there. If you get close, you can see some spots and stuff. That's kind of cool. So overall, a really nice solar system. There are ways that with mods you can expand. I think there's a mod where they actually put out like another star at a stellar distance from Kerbal, and so you can do an interstellar mission there and stuff. And we might do that later on, but for now, I'm just gonna go back to the Space Center, and we are gonna start our program. So first things first, you're gonna go to Mission Control, and we are gonna they put this new tab here where you have available all contracts, available, active, and archives, and so you can go and just go by the type of contract it is. And so world first achievements, these are the kinds that I'm looking for, but I'm just going to go to available because it just, I guess that's how I grew up, so to speak, in Kerbal Space Program, so this is what I'm going to do. So launch our first special. That should be pretty easy to achieve. Gather scientific data from Kerbin. That should be pretty simple to achieve as well. And then escape the atmosphere and orbit Kerbin. We will do another time. So you only do 2 contracts at once. Okay, so we're going to start out in the Vehicle Assembly Building, the VAB, or the VAB. This is modeled, of course, after the VAB in Florida, where they built the space shuttle, and they are currently building the SLS rocket system. Okay, so when you first start out without any additional science, you got some really basics here. You don't have a whole lot to work with. So we're going to have a command pod, and it's going to hold 1 Kerbal, and it's not too terribly large, just large enough. Now, one of the things I like to do is you right-click on it, right-click, and you take out that monopropellant. You might use it in later vessels, but right now we are not going to use it, so it's just extra weight, right? Now, you don't have to do that, no big deal. It's not like it's going to make or break your space program, but that's just something I tend to do. We don't have any fuel tanks right now. We only have solid rocket boosters rather. This is a procedural SRB, and that's because I have a procedural mod there. But I'm just going to go with the standard Flee. Okay. Now I also have Kerbal Engineer Redo installed, and this honestly saves my life. Otherwise, you got to do a lot of calculations in your head and math and stuff, and I don't like doing all that. There are other mods that can do that. I tend to like this one. So, Okay, our delta V, we have about just under 1,000 meters per second delta V. Thrust to weight ratio is 8.51, which is ridiculously large. And we will burn for 8.8 seconds. So we can modify this though. Let's look at what else we got here. Got a little girder there, basic fin, we'll probably use that. Definitely are going to want a parachute so you can make it back to the surface of Kerbin. You have Kerbal engineering system, so that's the same as this right here. But while you can get the stacks in here, if you want to have those stats out in the field, you have to spend the money and install this little computer chip panel on your spacecraft. And one of the little tricks that I like to do is I'll stick it underneath there, and I don't think that worked. Yeah, there we go. It clicked, and so it's in there, and you can't really see it. It's nice out of the way. I like that. And so now we get the benefit of having that. We can also have a couple mystery goo containers. These are going to be helpful for getting us some much needed science. And I think we want 3. Now, we don't have any decouplers at this point, so we can go ahead and put them down here. No big deal. I think if I'm going to put 3, I'm going to put them like that. That way, whoever gets in here has a way out. Go back here. We want to put, I don't think we have batteries yet, so that's kind of pointless, I think. Yeah, I'm not even going to worry about that right now. And that's it. Okay, so one of the things you can do is you're going to make sure that your staging is correct. Over here you want stage 0 is your last stage, stage 1 is your second to last, stage 2 is your third to last, etc., etc. So first stage, here we have our solid rocket booster. Now we have a thrust to weight ratio. We put these mystery goos, so you notice my thrust to weight ratio went down and my delta V went down. The burn time did not, however, because instead of throw it out the back end at the same rate, it's just not going to get us as far because it's trying to move more weight. That being said, you have a thrust limiter and you can change how much fuel is in there. So if we throw the thrust limiter down, it brings our thrust to weight ratio down and our burn time up. And we're going to want to do that because if you have just like a ridiculous thrust to weight ratio like this, you're going to be fighting the atmosphere. And fighting the atmosphere, you're instead of throwing that energy into movement, into momentum, into velocity, you're going to be throwing that energy into air resistance and creating friction and heat. And you can actually, you can even blow your vessel up if you're not careful. So we're going to lower that down. To get out of the atmosphere, I usually like to stay around between 1.3 and 1.5. So 1.42 is a perfect thing. You got a 47-second burn. There's going to be more than we really want for this first launch. We just want to be able to basically get a mystery goo on the launch pad, one while we're in the air, and one when we come back down and probably splash down into the water. So we don't really need to go that far, so I'm still going to only have it go for 15 seconds, something like that. Alright, so I'm lowering those down. It's going to cost me less money by doing that, and it's also just going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit safer, and we'll worry about doing more once we've unlocked a little bit more science. It's not worth naming this, and so then we're done, so I'm just going to go straight to launch. And it's probably going to stick Jebediah in there. That's the default. Jebediah is the first Kerbal in the space program. He is a pretty cool guy, though he smiles at everything. No matter what you're doing, he's a happy guy. He loves it, right? See, look at that smile. Okay, now it's going to take a couple seconds to load up. You notice I have Kerbal alarm clock here, and I'll show you more about that later. I'm going to turn that off for now. but I'm going to hit T, and that turns on your SAS, which, what does that stand for? Stability Assist, something or another, I don't know. But basically, when you turn SAS on, Jebediah is going to, the Stability Assist, Jebediah is going to try and hold the direction that the rocket is pointing steady. Now, he gets better at this as he gains experience, he gains levels here, but since he's just starting out, he's not going to be so great, so you're going to want to be hands-on. You can click this little button here, and you can actually see Jebediah in here now. These little tanks here, that's where the monopropellant would have been if we had left it in there. You got a little bit of battery in here, and his little control panel. And that's about it, right? So that is Jebediah's little craft. Kind of cramped, but it will work for what we're trying to do, right? Okay, now first things first, we're going to do an EVA, right? And so we're going to EVA report, and we're going to just B to go back into it, and then we're going to do a crew report, and we're going to keep that experiment as well, and then we're going to do a observe mystery goo, and we're going to keep that experiment. Now, at this point, I know we haven't launched it yet, and you notice we have performed the first EVA test at home, and I got $33,200 just for that. We've already paid for this launch, and so I'm actually going to go ahead and recover the vessel. I haven't even launched it, right? Just recover it. I'm going to get the science from the thing. I'm going to get money back from recovering all of those items, including the fuel, and we're going to go from there, right? So I got 17.2 science now. You can see here that instead of 100,000, now I have 120,000. Some of that is from being forwarded from accepting the contracts. Was an advance for those. But here we go. We got this science earned next. We got 3,651 funds back from recovered parts, and Jebediah gained really no one experience point gained, which is not much, but not bad for stepping out. And gather scientific data from Kerbal, so we completed that contract. And recent accomplishment for our space program, we have performed one of the first experiments at home, as we saw earlier, and so we got some money and a little bit of reputation for that. We go back to mission control, go to available here, and escape the atmosphere. I'm going to go ahead and take that contract, even though we're probably not going to do that on the next launch. I'm going to go into the research and development and get a basic rocket here. Basic rocketry, that's 5, and then engineering, that's 5. I can afford both of those, so I'm going to get those. Research and research. Not too much decision making there to be made, so that's good. Can I afford any of these? That's 20, that's 18, that's 15. I only have 7 and less, 7 and a quarter, so that gives us a couple more options, but we aren't even gonna worry about messing with them, right? Okay, so we're gonna start with a command pod. We're gonna go here, and we're gonna put a Science Junior on there, and then we're gonna put another Science Junior on there, and then we're gonna put another command pod on that. So that they're both facing the same way. Okay, now go over here. We can stick an antenna there to be able to transmit, and then we're going to want to put a couple of these up here. Now notice over here my symmetry is different, and if I do it, it's not radially symmetrical. It is symmetrical based on this axis here that cuts through the ship. And so because of that, it can be radially unsymmetrical. When you're building a rover or a space plane, that makes more sense, right? You can change this by clicking or tapping R on your keyboard, and now it is radially symmetrical. Then tap it again, and it goes back to bisymmetrical, or I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so put that right there. That will work. And then we are gonna do it at that. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna launch this. Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. I meant to have 2 Kerbals in here, and they only put 1 by default. But that's okay. We'll live with that. Okay. So we're gonna do a crew report. We're going to transmit it. No big deal. The electric charges here, it went from 100 down to a little bit under 90, 87. There, from transmitting that, there's our antenna. We're going to observe mystery goo, or materials base, sorry, and a mystery goo. And we're going to keep those, because if you notice, well, we get less science for transmitting it than we do for keeping it. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we are going to rotate. I'm pressing Q and E, and then Q. And we don't want to go too fast, but we're going to rotate it and go downhill. And we're going to get off of the runway here. And that's going to be considered a different biome, and therefore we're going to get more science from that. You don't want to go too fast, because you can break things if you go too fast. So you want to keep it around 2 meters per second or less. One thing to note, you notice how my nav ball is not in dead center, it's pushed over to the right. That used to be a mod, but the game developers in the options, they integrated that with the new Unity 5 build, which I love. And you can also, I think, increase and decrease the size of the entire user interface. And so you just go to settings towards the beginning of the game, or when you're in the main menu, and you can adjust that accordingly. I don't know, you might not be able to do it in the main menu. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but you know, just play around with the settings and you can get there. Okay. So now we're going to stop. We're going to put on T for toggle SAS, and that Jeb's going to stop the rotation, and then we're going to right-click, observe materials bay, and then right-click, observe mystery goo. And then we're going to right-click and do another crew report. Now, one thing I didn't do, and I can do this, we're going to keep and keep and keep. And then he's going to EVA, and watch this. It's EVA report while flying over Kerbin's shores. He's considered flying right now. Now, I've already done that because I did it over there on the landing pad, right? Or the launch pad, rather. So I'm going to reset the experiment, and I'm going to jump up. And I'm actually going to get off of this puppy. Let's jump down. All right. Now, once he gets back up, man, we are moving slow. If I press shift, he can run, versus without shift, he just walks, right? So sorry for the low frame rate. That's just a matter of I don't have the best computer, and you know, as these videos, if they get successful, I will definitely be spending money to get a more appropriate computer. But for the now, this is what I got, so this is what we get to use. Okay, so we're going to do another EVA report, report from the runway, and we're going to have him transmit that. Now, in the stock game, you couldn't do that from just being out and standing there. But with a mod that one of the mods that I have that I think is remote tech or something like that that has to do with antennas, it adds that capability. And then we're going to do another EVA report, and this is from the KFC. Just see that line there? That is the difference between being on the runway and being on the KSC, which is the Kerbal Space Center. And we're going to keep that experiment as well. And then we're going to recover, and it's just a recovered Jebediah. That spaceship is considered a separate object or a separate craft at this point for the game. But as you'll see when we get to the KSC, got 11 science just from Jebediah doing his thing. No experience gain done. But if you pan, right click, and then pan around, you have this Untitled spacecraft. Now, you can go to the tracking station if it's like on the other side of the planet and you can't see it. But since it's right here, you just can left click, and you could go back to flying it if you'd like, or you can just recover it. So we're going to recover it, and we got an additional 33.8 science earned. Next, got our funds back and done, and so that was pretty successful. And we have yet to actually leave the ground, and we already have what, like 70 science, something like that. Now I did have 150%, so it might supposed to be only like 50 science, but you know what? I did that for a reason, so I'm taking it. So we need to be picky here because that's 20, 38, 40, what, 3? I can't add. So I don't know, I think we might be able to afford everything. Survivability, that's going to be good. It's going to give us snacks and stuff, so I'm going to want that. Stability, nose cones, radial decoupler, yeah, I want that, and I definitely want this as well. And I can afford it, so I'm taking it. Alright, so we got the first 2 levels on our tech tree without leaving the ground. How cool is that? Okay. So, what's this? We have returned to the surface, and we have recovered our first crew from a mission. Alright. Now, we're going to go back to the vehicle assembly building, and we're actually going to get off the ground here. How novel a concept. A rocket program that actually launches something off the ground. Okay, so we're going to start with our command pod. Once again, I'm going to right click and take out that mono propellant. Okay, now we can do liquid fuel, and that's all well and good, but I honestly, for right now, for what we're trying to do, I'm going to stick with the flea. No need to get fancy with this yet. I could decouple it and stuff, but now I'm not even going to worry about that. I am going to put little winglets on it. Those are too big. I don't think that's necessary. So I'm just going to put 3 of these on there. Having 3 gives you yaw and pitch control. And not control, because these don't move. There will be ones later on in the game that you can move. But this will, stability is what I really should say. Then you have your heat shield if you were going to re-enter. We're not going to go that fast, so I'm not going to worry about that. Got quite a bit of technology here. If he was going on a little bit longer trip, I'd probably even put some snacks in there. I ain't going to worry about that. Yeah, I'm from Texas. I'm sorry. I say things like ain't. That's just how it is. Deal with it, guys. Okay. There's a couple of mystery goos. Do we want to put one of these on there? If we do, then we are going to want to end up going ahead and doing a stack decoupler. And we want to definitely have a parachute. Parachutes are important. We also have these radial parachutes. So if we wanted to really bring that back, we could. I am not going to worry about it. I did not put my Kerbal engineering system on there. I think that's always worth $100 without question. And let's go ahead and we will put an antenna because you never know. Oh, okay. So when I place this, spacebar will make the part go back to its default, and then if you click the W, A, S, and D buttons, you can rotate it, but it rotates by 90 degrees. And so if you rotate it by 90 degrees and you press shift, you can then go by, I think it's 5 degrees at a time, or something like that. Yeah, it's 5 degrees because 9 times 5 is 45, and so if you wanted a 45 degree angle, you hit it 9 times. Okay, yeah, so 5 degrees, that's how I did that, sorry. And it also will adjust the radial snapping as well. Now, one of the things you can do is you can toggle the radial snap to be off, and so then it'll just go anywhere, and it'll actually conform to the surface. So if you had an octagon, it'll stay straight versus rotating around a center. And you can also do that by doing Control C. Control C toggles that. Control X gives you more, and Shift X gives you less. Okay, as far as the number of items that are symmetrical. Then again, R will go to your the type of symmetry, where you go for mirrored symmetry or radial symmetry. Okay, is there anything else that we need or we can? I think that's going to be good. We need to, again, why? Oh, because, see, my decoupler is coming off before my thing, so it shows that I have 0 delta V because I'm throwing my stuff away before I use it. Now that I've fixed my staging, it shows up correctly. Again, we're going to limit the thrust to like 1.4. That's good. And again, we don't need to go that long, so we're going to go, instead of 15, we might go more like 20. That'll work. Okay, so we'll launch this, and we'll actually get off the ground this time. All right, Jeb, you ready, buddy? He's ready. Okay, I imagine this is going to have an extremely low frame rate as soon as I launch, but that can't be helped at the moment, like I said, so bear with me, guys. Hit T for launch. Now, I'm going to hit Z, and that maximizes my throttle. You can also Control to go down, Shift to go back up. It's a solid rocket booster, so it doesn't matter. It is what it is, and even if you had it at 0, once you activate the engine, it's going to go until it runs out of fuel. So here we go. Now, because I had the lower thrust to weight ratio, because I lowered the thrust limiter, it's not going up too quickly, and that's exactly what we want. We don't want fast and crazy. We want nice and controlled. While we're in the air, we're going to observe a mystery. I keep on wanting to call it mystery, the materials bay. We're just going to keep that experiment, and we're going to go ahead and observe a mystery goo. And we'll keep that experiment as well when it comes up. We can go ahead and do a crew report, and we can transmit that. And I'm also hitting the D button very slowly. I don't want to just go crazy and turn over, but I do want to make it out into the water, and I want to get past the shores by. I'm almost out of fuel. See here my apoapsis height, which is the highest altitude that I will attain from sea level, is going to be 1646, and it's falling because I have wind resistance. You notice that as I approach that, in actuality, my ballistic arc is coming down. Now, at this point, it's time to press the spacebar to stage, which decouples that. Don't need that anymore. I can turn my spacecraft around using the A key, and then hit space again. to put out my parachute. Now, once I hit 1,000 meters, it will fully deploy and slow me down all the way. At this point, I'm going to turn the stability control off because I don't need it, and it just wastes electric charge, which I might want for science. Now, let's see here. I'm going to go down. So, that sound is the sound of the bottom stage splashing into the ocean. I was like, that surprised me a little bit. Sorry. Okay, so what I was about to say was the comma and period keys, or the two arrows, left and right, are going to change your warp speed, and this is going to be physical warp because you're too close to the planet. Once you get up into space, you can do on-rails warp, which is slightly different, and I'll show you the difference there. But for now, we're going to go ahead and time warp 4 times, just to go ahead and hurry it down. I'll probably speed this up, and so I'll shut up so that I can do that. Okay, so we are splashed down, but we are still considered on the shore, so I didn't go far enough to get away from the shore. So this is gonna get us different, but we are splashed down, so I'm gonna go ahead and do another crew report. And it's gonna give me a little bit of something. I'm gonna do an EVA, and I wonder if this is gonna give me anything new. It does, and I'm going to go ahead and transmit that, and then I'm going to splash into the water. Now he's swimming. EVA report again. We're going to keep that, and then we need to go and observe mystery goo. Can only be externally controlled by a scientist. I don't know if you noticed that. Rewind the video if you didn't. Alright, so we're going to try and swim back up onto our thing. It's not really working all that great. Well, crap. I kind of wanted to observe that mystery goo. Jumping won't work. Trying to press F to climb isn't working. I'm kind of disappointed here. This is not cool. Oh well. So we're going to recover our vessel, and we'll have to recover the actual vessel at another time because I just recovered Jebediah. Kind of frustrated about that, but you know what? Whatever. You got to go with the flow sometimes and not worry about it. Don't sweat the small stuff. So good. So science there, and recover, and perfect. Okay. We got more science to spend. We're doing pretty good on money, and we probably have some more contracts to do now. Now that they know that we could actually launch something off the ground. I love doing these. Went to the launch site. That's really quick and easy money and science, so I'm going to definitely do that. I don't like doing these observational surveys. You gotta be careful about these because you gotta do it while on Kerbin, while flying at a certain altitude, which is relatively narrow, at a certain speed, which at such a low altitude, not impossible by any means, but is not necessarily normal. Actually, that's not too abnormal when you're coming back down into re-entry, but in this particular case, but it can be. So not necessarily worrying about this particular contract, but these types of contracts in general. You just want to be careful about what you do. That's another launch site one, but I can only do 2 at a time. Now, one of the things we can do is we're going to want to go ahead and upgrade this. It's only $50,000. We have the money, and We don't have the money to do that yet. But we do have the money to do this, and I'm going to go ahead and do that so we can get more contracts. I'm going to test that at the launch site. Anything else worth getting? And I'm going to go ahead and get orbit Kerbal. Okay, so what do we got here? That's saying the other contract was complete, and a lot of firsts that we did on that last one, right? We launched our first vessel, broke a speed record of 25 meters per second, altitude record of 500 meters, and so on and so forth, and then we splashed down into the ocean for the first time. So we got money and stuff for that as well. We're going to spend some of our science again. You know, these are 45, so I only get one, so I need to choose wisely. This will get us our first batteries. I like this. And also get us our first scan set, which will be good. So then we can start doing our first satellites, as well as having a Propidyne Stay Putnik, which is what we need to have satellites. The ABS device, which just beeps to tell you, and a thermometer. It gives us more science, and I think we have plenty of rocketry right now, so I think that's what we're going to go for. Bam. Done. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for this episode. I'll probably go ahead and record the next episode, but I'm going to break it up into 2 parts. So thanks for watching, and y'all have a great day.